welcome to Carlos and Lisa. I'm Lisa Remillard.
And I'm Carlos Amesco. Nice to have you here on this, of course, social distancing edition. This is like our third or fourth one of these, Lisa. I'm at my house and you're at your house, and we are not working together in our studio to do what we're supposed to be doing, social distancing.
I know. It's very difficult for me not to just be this close to you rolling my eyes. Now I have to roll my eyes at you from 80 miles away. It's tough, it's tough goings. But look, I think a lot of people at home who are normally watching the news and normally watching television are starting to get used to this, where people are, that they are normally seeing in studios, have to do things from their house, because we're doing our best, as all of you are at home, to try and stop the spread of this virus as much as we possibly can. I know it is difficult.
Yeah, it's been really, it's been a strain. I think we've been isolated now for 9 days that I've been doing this, 9 full days of just basically 4 walls, sometimes in the backyard, sometimes in the front yard, just getting some fresh air, trying to walk around, do some exercises, do some extra things. It's not easy. And look, we empathize with you. The other thing that I think is really interesting for me is that on occasion now, I'm checking in with the news organizations to see what the latest is. I'm not doing it all the time because I think it raises anxiety. I think it raises too much information in your head. And so I've used alternate means of getting information, and that all includes, of course, the computer and stuff. So I'd like to know what you're doing, because I keep hearing the same things over and over again. The news organizations are really just being repetitive and kind of like listening and hearing the same things over and over again. I don't think I'm learning too much new.
I guess I'm the complete opposite, but that's because I don't know, maybe I'm a strange person, but I'm glued to it. I'll watch it all.
What did you just say?
I guess I'm a strange I'm going to put news in there. I'm a strange news person. I watch it all the time. I watch it 24 hours a day. I feel like I'm completely invested in it. But at the same time, I have been doing news for long enough to understand how to filter my own personal feelings about what is being said. I think that kind of filter that we have as news people, we're used to, because we're used to ingesting all kinds of information and then only kind of regurgitating the information that's important to our particular viewers. So I think I have a different filter than most people have. And I think a lot of people right now are at home, and they're normally at work, so they're not ingesting 24 hours a day of news. And I think a lot of people are without that filter, and it's becoming overwhelming for a lot of people. And I certainly agree with what you're saying, Carlos. And for the people that are watching at home, I agree that you need to kind of, unless you have that filter, you need to absolutely step away every once in a while, just to give yourself and your brain a little bit of a time to rest.
It's infuriating to me to see that there are people who are taking this lightly, who don't accept the fact that they have a personal responsibility to keep themselves and others around them safe, and they're just not taking it seriously. That part of it I don't understand, and I think it's highly selfish of people to think that because they feel no symptoms, they're okay. I guess in a weird way, the fact that I have a little cold, it's been going on now for a week and a half, has made me feel more like I'm not that invincible, that I have to stay home and take care of myself. But people who are asymptomatic, who are going out, I saw some things from London, these kids in the pubs that were going into the pubs and didn't care. Of course, we've talked about the kids in
Malibu beaches,
Lauderdale, and the beaches in Malibu, and then of course I don't know if you saw the Mormon missionaries were ordered to come home from certain parts of the world. They all came, I guess, from Brazil on a big aircraft and landed in Salt Lake, greeted by throngs of family and friends, which is completely the wrong thing to do. I mean, this is the kind of craziness that we're seeing globally, not just in the U.S., but all over the world.
I keep getting messages from folks who are, I don't know if denial is the right word, but they have said to me, "Oh, I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who has it. This is all drummed up, nonsense." But the fact, Carlos, is that you and I personally know a lot of people, friends of our show, have come down with this. Some of our California lawmakers have come down with this. We know a friend of our show, Angela Sun from Spectrum News. She is stuck in Australia right now because she was at a wedding in early March and somebody had the virus there. She now has the virus and she's kind of chronicling her journey in the hospital. And obviously Australia had more tests on hand, and the medicine is more readily available there. Their medical system is more equipped at this point to handle it than we are right now.
The story, Lisa, is that she was tested because she was at the wedding. She wasn't tested because she had any symptoms, and she still has no symptoms. She's been in the hospital, quarantined, and literally losing her mind in that hospital room, because it's like she can't go anywhere. She doesn't feel sick. They treat her like she's got the plague, which of course is not the case, but she is positive. She's COVID-19 positive, even though she feels perfectly okay. That story is being repeated all over the place, but we're following her because we're friends, and she's been posting these videos of her in the room, and she's had bad days and she's had good days. We appreciate that what she's doing as a public service and as a journalist, chronicling her problem, her situation there. But boy, I wish her well. That's got to be tough.
Well, yeah, and I don't want, by her situation that she has no symptoms, but yes, is positive for COVID-19. I don't want people at home to think that, oh, if you're asymptomatic and have it, you'll be fine. I mean, there are people with it that have dire health issues. People are in comas, people are on respirators. I mean, there's a range of how your body is reacting to this particular virus. So yes, I sympathize with her, and gosh, the small little hospital room in another country must be horrible for her, but there's a lot of people here too that are suffering from it. And we, Carlos, as you said, know personally people that have come down with this. So just because it's not happening to you at home or your neighbor doesn't mean it's not happening. In fact, the National Guard is now, deployed here in California to help relieve law enforcement and help the governor kind of go into places where they need the National Guard the most to try and keep law and order in our state, as we have one of the biggest concentrations of cases of COVID-19.
Last time I saw a deployment like this was during the LA riots, and I was working at KTLA, and the National Guard, they patrolled the streets, they patrolled the freeways, their armored vehicles were everywhere. They did a fabulous job keeping order once those things were all, once the riots really were quelled by the National Guard and law enforcement. This is a different kind of situation where they're trying to keep us from hurting ourselves. They're really trying to protect us and doing the right thing and making sure that people aren't going. I saw another piece of video in Florida where officers were stationed like every quarter mile along South Beach, keeping beachgoers from going to the beach, because they can't get it through their head that they shouldn't be doing that. So, I know for a lot of civil libertarians, this is a tough thing for people to see and understand that, at some point we have to think of the greater good, and we sometimes suspend our personal liberties for this thing. But look, if someone close to you or even just one person removed from you dies, you see the effect, and you get the emotional fallout from that, and you're going to feel it strongly, and that changes your mindset. Most of us, that hasn't happened yet, but when it does, it really drives it home, and maybe that's when you get the message. But it shouldn't be carried that far. That's what we're trying to prevent by staying home.
Yeah, I was out going for a walk yesterday, and I'm kind of like thinking, my brain is going, and I was thinking to myself, if we all just, I know it's tough, but if we are not essential, our work is not essential, if we're not a doctor or a nurse or law enforcement, if our work is not essential, if we could all just, it dawned on me, if we could all just stay home for just a little bit, and we all did it, perhaps that curve that they keep saying needs to be flattened will happen quicker, and then we can all get back to work. But if some of us are sitting at home and some of us are out playing at the beach or doing whatever we're doing, then that curve is not going to get flattened fast enough, and then this thing is going to prolong, and our economy is going to go down the tubes, and we're going to be in a real different situation than we're in right now.
Well, that's it. It's interesting you bring that up. I read a really interesting article overnight when I couldn't sleep, and it was a long article about what some of the great thinkers of America think will happen post COVID-19, this whole thing, how it's going to change our culture, how it's going to change our faith in God, how it's going to change our government, how it's going to change our schools, how it's going to change business. how it's going to change what we're doing in the media. Look, it's already changed. We're able to do what we do, you and I do professionally, at home. We're able to do that.
Amazing.
I'm watching my colleagues at KTLA doing their shows and wondering, why are they coming to work? They could just set that stuff up and broadcast it through KTLA. There's a way to do that. So look, this is a tough time. And I just want to thank our viewers for hanging with us and watching us on BeondTV. It's a service. We want you to feel good about what you're watching and maybe learning something and putting a smile on your face. We've got lots of cool content on the show.
We definitely do. In fact, we're going to talk about in this show, we're going to talk about what you can be doing now if you're laid off or have lost your job, what you can be doing now to prepare for the hiring economy to come back, which it will. How do you make sure that your resume is at the top of the list? A very interesting conversation coming up.
All right, Lisa, we'll continue here with Carlos Singh, so we'll be back in just a moment.
You know, people are always concerned with their credit score, but are you really in control of that number? Walt Burch is the co-founder and editor-in-chief of DebtReliefCenter.org, and he's here to kind of explain this. You know, I look at the three credit bureaus as kind of this like spooky thing that people have to deal with that don't really understand. Can you make some sense of it for us?
Sure, and it's not quite as mystical as people think. People look at this big eye in the sky, Big Brother is watching you, and there are three credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and really they're intended to help lenders make quick decisions on credit. That's one of the functions they provide in society. If lenders had to, you know, do extensive background checks on everybody to make decisions, everything would come to a screeching halt. But what they do is basically, a credit score is based on five different factors. Mm-hmm. One is your on-time payment status, and recent on-time payment status is more important than anything. Another is the amount of credit you are using, the amount of available credit. So 35% is on-time payment status, 30% is the amount of credit you are using. So a person that thinks, I've been on time forever, I've never missed a payment in my life, how come my credit score isn't higher? Because you may be using 80 or 90% of your available credit. Lenders like to see you use under 30% of your available credit. It's like anything else in life. They will give you credit, but they hope that you don't need it. You know, that's the
So
truth.
Available credit, how do you get that number?
Well, the available credit you're using, you can understand through on the revolving credit side. If you have a card that has a $10,000 limit on a card, and you're using $1,000, lenders just love it. And you're paying on time, it's wonderful.
Oh, okay.
They've got credit, they're not using it, they must be a great risk.
Yeah.
But they say, this person is using 100% of it, and they just applied for a new card. My goodness, they're maxing out on credit.
Yeah.
So 35% is one, 30 is another, the amount of credit you're using. Your mix of credit is very important. Lenders like to see that you can responsibly use different types of credit well.
Like car loans and house loans.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, okay.
So they see, okay, here's Carlos, and Carlos has a car loan, he's on time. Here's his home loan, he's on time.
Right.
He's able to responsibly pay off his credit cards. All of those things matter, as opposed to a person saying, I have one type of credit, it's revolving credit cards, and I'm maxed. You can see how the flip side of that works.
Yeah. So tell me about your organization, DebtReliefCenter.org. You have all kinds of tools in that toolbox that can help people. Tell me about those tools.
We do. Over the years, we've had, between Debt Relief Center and the state sites that we've had over 20 million visitors come to us looking for help with credit and debt, but specifically how to get out of debt. That's what they come to us primarily for. And when we do that, we refer them to accredited providers in each state, because each state has different laws on how they can be organized. But what we found is that a fraction of those people, less than 10%, actually get referred for assistance. What we do want to do is provide everybody help. We want to take control, help as best we can, so we've provided free tools. We had a community program that we've developed called Project Debt Box. It can be downloaded for free, online, and it's basically how to deal with creditors, how to understand your credit score. There's a program called the Debt Snowball that Dave Ramsey and others have made very popular.
Yeah.
And all these things actually work. The biggest thing about credit and debt is that many people feel powerless. They feel guilty when problems happen.
Yes.
And they get down on themselves, and then they start playing this game thinking that I will never get out. We want to empower people, and we want to show them there are tools, there are things you can do, and you would be amazed that even self-help things like calling up your creditors on your own can be very effective. Over 50%, studies have shown, over 50% of the people who are calling creditors for concessions are getting some form of relief, even if it's a few lower interest rates or a late fee waive or an annual fee taken away. these things are happening out there.
So let me ask you this question, because we hear a lot of commercials on the radio and on television and everywhere about these, you know, we can settle your debt 10 cents on the dollar. There's a lot of also scams out there.
Yes.
How can we be sure that what we're doing is the right thing and we're dealing with a legitimate business?
What a great question. It really is. First of all, prior to 2010, in the debt resolution industry, there was a lot of companies that really were taking advantage of people and taking upfront fees that they did very little for them or nothing. The biggest thing is, in 2010, laws changed which prohibited companies, unless they were attorney-based, for charging any upfront fees for debt relief services. They couldn't charge any fee until debts were successfully reduced or resolved.
Oh, wow.
So that's a very important thing for consumers
sure
to
is.
know, because the industry did have a very negative connotation. But I will say to you that one of the biggest things is you should always check a company's BBB rating.
Better Business Bureau.
Better Business, they should always check the BBB rating. And if any company, you mentioned 10 cents on the dollar, tells you that you can get out of debt for 10 cents on the dollar, you should run. It's really not true. Generally, as a rule of thumb, it's companies, the biggest thing that companies do when they help you is they break the cycle. Because you continue to accumulate new debt, you're never going to get out of debt. But if they say, let's freeze the existing debt that you have, and either reduce the interest rates in a debt management program, because there's two types of programs, either reduce the interest rates in a debt management program, or look to resolve your debts and settle for less than the full amount. Those are the two things you can do. But generally, the percentages are you're going to save 25, 30%, 40% maximum, but you are breaking the cycle of debt and you're getting out for debt for less.
Well, Walt, we appreciate all this great explanation. Again, the website is debtreliefcenter.org. Check it out. A lot of great tools there. Walt, great to have you here. Thanks so much.
Good to be with you, and thanks.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very good.
Well, you wondered what's going on in Hollywood. We're watching a lot of actors and singers on social media do their thing. So we brought our Hollywood guy, our Beyond TV correspondent, Patrick Stinson, better known as P. Stinney, on all social media. Patrick, nice to see you.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Carlos.
Now, so you watch all things Hollywood. You were just with Ostriches doing the Jumanji thing. I mean, you get around the Hollywood scene quite a bit. It's really interesting to see how Hollywood has responded to this crisis.
Yeah, you know, it's cool. It's like all the mom and pop organizations out there, restaurants and bars. Hollywood has basically come to a screeching halt. But there is still stuff out there. So I found that when you put a whole bunch of creative people alone in their homes, you're going to get a lot of creative content for the world to kind of consume. And that's really what's happening right now.
Yeah, for example, I'm drawn to the musicians. So I listen to Chris Martin play the piano, Neil Diamond playing the guitar, you know, hands, washing hands, reaching out, don't touch me. I mean, it was hilarious. I love that.
Songs a little bit, yeah. The Chris Martin thing is part of a new hashtag called Together at Home, and it's really it's a virtual concert series that is put together by Global Citizen and the World Health Organization and a whole bunch of celebrities. Like you said, Chris Martin did one, Charlie Puth did one, Common also performed, and John Legend and Chrissy Teigen performed as well. And I gotta tell you, it's really a cool way for the celebrities, the musicians, the stars to kind of interact and connect with their fans in a way that we've never done before. Because if you watch the John Legend one, you'll notice that Chrissy Teigen is wearing a towel. And at the top of the concert, John announces that he is not wearing pants. He says he is wearing underwear, but no pants. And that's because the audience voted for what they thought they should wear, and they abided by the audience vote. So John Legend, no pants, Chrissy Teigen, a towel, and that's what the fans wanted.
Well, not to be outdone by John Legend, but neither one of us are wearing pants, so let's just go say it.
You're not supposed to tell that. That's always a media stop.
That's right. All right, so the other thing that we're doing a lot of is binge watching. I mean, Hollywood production is ground to a halt because no one's making movies or TV shows, but the stuff that's out there is really cool. What are you seeing? What kind of trends are you seeing?
Well, so a lot of movies that were about to be released got pushed to later this year or next year. But then some were just released, and then, you know, COVID-19 hits and nobody can go to the theater. And some were just about to be released and they're not getting pushed. they are getting pushed to like the home theater market. So you have a lot of different movies now, which will be available either right now or in the next few days that you can watch at home that typically you would have to go to the theater watch. You can either watch it via your cable subscriber, or you can watch it in a download kind of situation, or on some of the streaming giants like Amazon Prime, Hulu, and
I'm a big Netflix guy.
Because like Invisible Man, you can now watch that at home. The Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss. Bloodshot, I should say. Bloodshot with Vin Diesel. I think the title kind of tells you what that's about. Yeah, there's blood and there's Vin Diesel. That was going to be released, is now available for home viewing. The Way Back, remember that one with Ben Affleck? Like it got a lot of buzz right before everything shut down, and now it's available via your couch. You can watch that, and then also like for the kids, there's Onward, the Pixar movie with Tom Holland and Chris Pratt, and also coming very soon, Sonic the Hedgehog with Jim Carrey. Oh. So a lot of stuff is available at home now.
But you know what's really crazy, Patrick? No. These end of the world movies are like, they're trending, like, you know, whatever the earthquake movie was, and the asteroid movies and the pandemic movies. I mean, Netflix has been rating them, and they're like the top 3 are all end of the world movies.
I don't know what that means about us, but yeah, I'm here for all of it.
It's funny to see our friends playing newscasters in those movies and wondering now they're living it for real. Like this is not real life. This is not a film.
But I like all the stuff that's happening, because you got to take a break from that stuff. You have to take a break from all of the non-stop COVID-19 reporting. I mean, it's just too much is too much. So take a break, enjoy a little Vin Diesel shooting up stuff, enjoy like a concert with John Legend, and, you know, just kind of like take yourself a mental break, even though you're stuck at home.
Yeah. So what kinds of things have you been doing? What kind of things have you been watching?
Okay. You're going to think I'm weird. But I just found out that all of the episodes of The French Chef with Julia Child,
yes,
are now available on Amazon and PBS Passport. So I literally started watching those yesterday. It starts in her black and white days back in 1963, maybe. I mean, she's literally the very first celebrity chef. And
like a soft-boiled egg.
It was kind of fascinating to watch. I watched 2 or 3 episodes. I learned how to make French onion soup, so I'm good to go.
I love those cooking shows. I actually love watching them and learn something every single day from them.
Absolutely. And I mean, think about it, like she's doing this in the 60s, like the way it's kind of evolved now, like you go back and watch that and you see how it's really done. But it's weird. It is weird to see food being cooked in black and white, because I'm like, I don't know what color my steak is not supposed to be gray, but hers is. So you got to do a little mental adjusting for Julia Child.
All right, bon appetit. All right, Patrick. Well, listen, you hang in there. We'll keep checking back in with you to see what's going on in the scene in Hollywood. But for now, it looks like everyone's taking it in stride and we're moving forward. So thanks so much for joining us, and continue on with your BeondTV correspondence. We love having you aboard and part of the family.
Bon appetit.
Bon appetit, my friend.
Lots of Americans have been laid off from their job or let go from their job. But right now is the time for you to be preparing yourself for when employers start hiring again. So we asked employment expert Jackie Ducci how in the world we're supposed to be doing that. Hi, Jackie. Okay, so first of all, Jackie, tell me the expertise that you have.
Sure. So I've been working in hiring for about 15 years. I'm a headhunter, technically, I guess that's the term. So I've been this go-between between employers and candidates for a really long time, sort of matchmaking and putting people in the right positions. So I consider my expertise to kind of be that insider perspective of how hiring decisions are actually made. I think a lot of times candidates go into those situations and they're like, oh, I wish, I could understand why the employer didn't pick me or they did pick someone else, and they never really know what went on, but I live my life in that in between. So that's where I can really be helpful to people.
Okay, let's talk about what is happening with the employment right now, and probably for the foreseeable future. What do you see happening in your industry?
I think what's amazing to me is that everything has just sort of changed overnight. So last week it was a candidates market, the economy is booming, we're in good shape, and now all of a sudden it's extremely volatile. And instead of there being this scramble, employers are laying off. So everything's just changed really quickly, and nobody's really sure at this point what to expect in terms of time frame going forward for things to normalize.
What would your advice be to somebody that perhaps has been laid off or has lost their job altogether right now? What would your advice be to them?
The first thing that I would say to someone who's just been laid off is to try to keep their emotions in check. And I know that that's a really difficult thing to do, but you want to maintain a good relationship with your employer, because at some point this whole coronavirus thing will blow over, the economy will turn, and these companies will be hiring again. And so my thought is you want to be the first person that they think of when they're ready to hire. They would much rather bring somebody back that they already know, that they don't have to train, as opposed to just open hiring and going to look for someone new. So maintaining that relationship, and your layoff is not personal, so don't take it personally, and keep that door of communication open with your current employer.
What about people that are thinking, maybe this is an opportunity for me to try something else when this all blows over? Is that a thing to be considering right now? Should they be getting their ducks in a row right now?
Absolutely, they can be. I mean, there are certainly industries that are still doing well. There are companies that are hiring. So if you're in that camp where you're thinking about looking, couple tips, I think there's a fine line between enthusiasm and desperation, and that's something that's really important for people to keep in mind. So employers love enthusiasm. This is something I talk about a lot, because the company wants to know that you want to work for them. But at the same time, if they get a whiff of desperation, it's really unattractive in a candidate. So it's important when you're interviewing to just kind of be as cool and collected as possible. Tell them that you want it, but don't come across like you're just grasping at any opportunity, because if you do that, they're probably not going to want you.
Okay, that leads me to my next question, which is, these are desperate times. So how do you not, maybe you are desperate, but how do you not appear desperate in the search for a job?
The biggest thing, I think, is just being thoughtful and conveying fit. So from the eyes of the employer, they don't just want someone who can do the job well. They want someone who can do the job well, who is likely to stay with the company long term. So if you can draw parallels to anything about the company or the job to why you're a good match, like if they have something in their mission statement that really resonates with you, for example, bring that up in the interview. Like the more concrete, specific things that you can bring, the more they're going to be like, wow, this person really thought about it and they really do want to be here. So then even if you do seem like you really need a job, it's going to come across much more sincere than just someone that's like applying for anything and hoping something sticks.
Is there anything else that I'm missing about this particular time when everybody has to stay at home? Is there something they should be doing? Should they be working on their resume? Should they be kind of searching the internet? What should people be doing so that when it blows over, they're hitting the ground running?
Sure. I mean, one other thing that I feel like most people don't think about is utilizing their network when they're job seeking. So it sounds like such basic advice, but I see so many people not do it. So, I think everybody's instinct is to look online and go to all these job boards, and it's really not the smartest way to search. I mean, you can dig up opportunities that way, but you're just one of however many random people just applying through a computer. Whereas if you actually know someone, maybe your best friend has an opening at their company that they can get you an interview for. It's just, I think the more human interaction you can drudge up, like call your friends, talk to people, and then sometimes that will lead to a really great opportunity that otherwise you would have never found. So just being open to how opportunities might come.
Those are all great ideas. Thank you so much for your time, Jackie. We'll be right back.
Our next guest is an indie acoustic pop artist who appeared on America's Got Talent.
Carly Joe Jackson is here to talk about her new single, Clipped Wings. Hi!
Hey,
Carly Joe Jackson.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, you are a delight. You are so fun, and you have this killer voice.
Thanks.
Okay, how does a Florida gal like you come up with a voice like that?
I don't know. You know, Florida has a lot of good influences, I'd say. I grew up listening to like Sublimes and like Bob Marley, lots of beach music, but then lots of rock and roll too, a little bit of hip hop and R&B. I'd say it's got everything. So whatever happened with my voice, I gotta thank Florida. Whatever happened.
Well, the cool
Born and
thing,
raised.
there are some things about Florida, like there's these little clubs all over the place.
Oh yeah.
That have kind of a funky. It's almost. It's really gritty in some places. Other places
yeah.
really stylized, but
Totally.
that's the kind of the mix that you're talking about.
Oh
right?
yeah, it's ups and downs, it's everywhere in between. I noticed California has a lot of that too. I love being here and comparing to over there. It's mighty hot over here though right now, which I did not expect.
Wait a
I'm
minute.
used to the cold.
Hot here?
Yes.
But we're talking about the humidity
I
in
know.
Florida. Come on. I live there too.
It's different. It's different. I'm telling you.
And gators will not creep into our bars.
No, that's good. That's fine. I've never been a fan of gators anyway, so it's all good.
All right, so let's talk about your time on America's Got Talent and how that has shaped who you are now as an artist. Has it at all?
Totally. There's been so many things. People ask me a lot, like, has anything come of that? And it's not really like one specific thing, you know? It was like a total snowball effect of things. I would totally recommend for any old artist to go out there and give it a shot because it's a national platform and it got me up on a bigger stage than I could have been from my little local gigs I was doing and from my house and my YouTube channel and stuff. So it's helped out in a lot of ways, mostly in just the fact that there's a little more validation kind of, or, you know, where it feels better saying like, hey, I did something and they put me on a TV for it. It
That everybody in the country watches.
Yeah,
you know?
It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of great people and music friends that I'm still friends with today, and we talk all the time, and that's a good connection to have always.
Well, the validation it's a confidence booster.
Yeah,
it does improve your ability to perform, doesn't it? I mean, you just kind of rise to the occasion.
Yeah, it makes you
Or you crash, one or the other. Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I seem to never really surprise myself with how much I can just like go either way. But it definitely helps you realize, hey, I've got a shot, I've got a chance, and I can do this if I really put my mind to it. Anybody can. You just really have to focus on what you want and not what other people are telling you, you know, and that dark side of your mind that's not so validated.
Put it away.
Right.
Put it away.
Okay, so let's talk about your new music.
Yeah.
You have an album coming out.
Yes.
In November.
Yes.
And what are you going to play for us right now?
Right now I'm going to play a song that's being released, or it's been released, and it's called Clipped Wings. And
It's on which label?
it's on Lost Coast Records and being distributed by Cherry Bomb Records. So
Oh, cool.
I'm so excited. This has got a lot of love behind it.
Yes,
Great.
it does. All right.
All right, so
Carly Joe Jackson.
And the song is called?
Clipped Wings.
Here we go.
Enjoy, guys. Thank you. Ready?
Yep.
If I could just fly away, I would, but I can't, so here I'll stay. Oh, oh yeah. And if I could just call your name, I would, but I can't, so I won't say no. I'm just a bird with clipped wings, and I cannot fly beyond my means. I'm just a bird with clipped wings, and I do not mean anything, not anything. But if I could just call your name, I would, but I can't, so here let's stay. To change, will I still feel ashamed? Oh no, yeah. 'Cause ooh, I'm just a bird with clipped wings, and I cannot fly beyond my means. I'm just a bird with clipped wings, and
Jackson.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
We are back with Carly Jo Jackson. She sang her song, beautiful song. I love that. I feel like a person with clipped wings. But she's now joined by her producer, Chris Polonis. Nice to have you here, Chris.
Hey, nice to be here.
This is an amazing combination. You guys just warmed up. In a minute, you're going to hear them play. But tell me about how you found her and how you guys got together.
I found Carly at the NAM convention, the National Association of Music Merchants. And of course, there's the big stages.
In Anaheim?
In Anaheim, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but she wasn't on the stages. I was trying to get away from all that stuff, really. And I was at the Sheraton. There was a little stage in the corner, and it was kind of all sorts of weird stuff. Some guy dressed like Thor playing the cello. And in walks Carly with these, braids, dyed blue, and looks like Avatar woman or something.
Oh my God.
A Catwoman Avatar.
Pointy ears and the whole thing.
I mean, she walked in and the whole place just went, and I was like, I wonder are those things going to light up? It must be some gimmick. She got up with the cajon player and it was hit after hit after hit. Perfect performance, and it blew me away. And I'm thinking, how am I going to, how many people go up to her and say, hey, I really want to record you, right?
Right.
But I did, and she goes, oh, really? How do you see that going? Because like she's never heard that before, right? Some 60-year-old guy coming up to her going, I want to record you. And anyways, I said, I want to capture what I just heard, and that's what she had been waiting for somebody to say, and that's how we ended up making the record, which is her singing live into one stereo mic, no pitch correct, no punches, no comps.
Straightforward.
And how did you feel about this?
Amazing. It's a nice feeling as an artist to feel like this isn't done up, it's just me, and it sounds good, and it feels good to be me. Like, doesn't everybody want to feel good in their own skin and like without all the extra stuff? So we're happy to release something that's so natural.
And here's this guy with a big name who's got big artists. Who are some of the people that you've worked with?
Well, Jeff Bridges and I have been working together for a long, long time. I'm his producer, musical director, guitar player, harmonic, and all that stuff, and we tour around and do a lot of things, and he's become a huge fan.
You dropped your pick.
He's a huge fan of Carly's. Michael McDonald and I are working together on some stuff, and
sounds like the Santa Barbara Music Mafia.
It's sort of, well, it's sort of like that up there. I mean, all those guys. All those guys.
Yeah, and you have a club in Solvang?
I do. Lost Chord Guitars. It's a guitar shop, wine. I have my own wine, Lost Chord Wine, and it's a music venue and also an art and photography gallery. Jeff Bridges has his Wide Lux shots, large, up there right now.
So if you're lucky enough to head up that direction, you might be able to hear these two play. So we have the privilege here of getting them together. So Chris Polonis and Carly Jo Jackson are going to jam playing what?
Sleep in My Car.
Yeah, this is the first single.
Sleep in My Car?
Yeah.
First single that we dropped.
That's the one with the Porsche, right?
It is.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Check that video out.
Yeah, check that video out on YouTube. Ready, Chris?
I'm ready-ish.
Never
okay. If you'll take me home, cradle me in your arms, promise I'll be okay. Even though I'm not safe in my car again, I don't care what you say now. You ain't never paid my bills anyway. Okay, I sleep in my car and I'm comfortable that way. You ain't never get it, Chris. Take it away. No, no, no. Go on and sleep in your pretty house, yeah, right there on Biscayne Bay, and that's me in your driveway. Go on and sleep in your pretty house, right there on Biscayne Bay, and you could drive by, you could say, hey, hey, I sleep in my car, I'm comfortable that way, and I'm comfortable today.
Carly Joe Jackson and Chris Polonis. I sleep in my car on Biscayne Bay.
There we go.
Thank you very much. That was
Carlos.
fantastic.
All right, so the question now becomes, Carlos, that we're stuck in the house. What are you doing to pass the time?
Well, besides getting really good on my guitar, I've been playing.
Excellent.
I've been playing a lot of guitar. I've really enjoyed that because it's been a while since I picked it up really seriously and spent an hour playing guitar. I haven't done that in years. The other thing is, in the evenings, I've been watching Washington. It's called Turn, Washington Spies. It is so good. It's on Netflix. It's 4 seasons, I think 10 episodes per season. That's a lot of TV. Excellent, though. But you learn so much about the revolution and the whole ring of spies that Washington had that kept the Revolutionary War effort really working against the British. It's fantastic. I loved it. How about you?
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Really good.
Now, I'm not as highbrow. I'm binge watching Love is Blind.
What a surprise.
Binge watching Love is Blind. It is this just trash garbage show on Netflix.
What?
It's a trash garbage show on Netflix, but it's amazing.
What is
These people go into these pods. They can't see each other, but they are falling in love, and they get engaged after like 2 days. And
That's
then
a blind date one? The blind date one?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. I look really stupid.
It's ridiculous, but it's such good television, and it cleanses my brain of any kind of stress or trauma, because I'm like, at least I'm not trying to meet someone blindly in a pod on television.
Well, you know, the way things are going, who knows, that may be the future. Who knows?
It might be. Yeah. So we would like to hear.
Brian's laughing. He's sitting right here watching this whole thing. He's losing his mind.
Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We're this close.
No, that's the thing is that, you know, you have to kind of take your mind away from what's going on. And thank goodness, I mean, the technology's allowed us to have Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and all these cool things, BeondTV, where you can binge watch stuff and just keep watching and watching and watching. But the quality is so good. I mean, I got to tell you, they're better than movies, these miniseries.
Oh, yeah. And also, Westworld is on. Amazing show on HBO. If you haven't watched it already.
I don't have HBO. I refuse to pay.
Okay, Carlos.
I mean, for Netflix, but it's like $7 or something.
All right, so we want to know how you are getting through it. What are you binge watching? What are you watching on TV? What should we all be watching on TV? because, you know, yes, we should be paying attention to the news, but we also need a little bit of a break every once in a while. So we'd love to hear from you. And you can, of course, binge Carlos and Lisa on Beyond TV anytime you want.
Nothing better than binging us. Although the other thing I'm doing is I binged that.
I was trying to wrap up the segment, Carlos, because we only have 3 minutes.
Oh, I can't. I don't pay attention that way. Thanks for watching.
BeondTV. We will see you next time.
That's my line. BeondTV.
You wouldn't say it. You wouldn't say it. So I had to say it for you.
All right, let's say goodbye. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Goodbye.
All right.